Hi, I'm Ryan Lightfoot-Brown from FundCalibre. We're joined today by Chisako Hardie, manager of the AXA Framlington Japan Fund. Welcome, Chisako. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
How would you explain your job to someone outside of financial services?
I would say I look for businesses which are likely to grow for the long term and invest my clients' money in them so the value of their money will increase over the time. And as this is a mutual fund, which means so many clients' money is gathered in the fund, we can invest in many companies, and this reduces the risk in individual investment.
And you've been quoted as saying that after 2 lost decades, corporate Japan has completely reinvented itself, and you are finding, contacting and connecting with these new 21st century businesses. In what way have these companies changed exactly?
This is a very important point. However, surprisingly, not many people are aware of it. Even Japanese people, not many Japanese people are aware of this. Until the end of bubble economy of Japan, which ended day one, 1990, the Japanese business model was the old Japanese model, which was working really well. That was import material and mass produce consumer products and export them massively overseas. That was the old model, which was working really well. And that model was supported by the US, and the yen remained quite low, weak. And so it worked really well all through 60s and 70s towards the end of 80s. But it suddenly stopped working. Why? Because Japanese position in the world really changed. Everybody remembers the wall in Berlin fell in November in 1989. And soon after this, Japanese market collapsed and the Japanese difficulty started. Was it coincidence? No, I don't think so. Because that symbolized the end of the Cold War. That means Japanese significance to the United States declined quickly, I believe. Therefore, Japan became less important because before this, keeping Japan strong was important for the US. But this situation pretty much changed quite drastically. And around that time, Japanese exports were causing frictions everywhere in the world. So Japan was suddenly hated, rather than being admired. Yeah. That was the case for many years. So it suddenly changed, and the Japanese bubble popped. So this happened. Then after this, corporate Japan had to repair its balance sheet by reducing excess debt, excess labor, excess production capacity. It took more than 10 years, 10, 15 years. Then everything was repaired. And after this, what they did was, because by that time, Korea copied the Japanese old business model, and they've been so successful. LG and Samsung became big, replacing Sony, Panasonic. So that was happening. So what corporate Japan did was they shifted from B2C, targeting consumer, to more business to business, B2B. That means rather than producing the end products like TV sets, they started producing high-tech materials or devices or production equipment rather than those products, rather than TV sets, LCD sets. Because now you go to the electrical shops, then you used to see Sony, Panasonic, Sharp, all Japanese names, but now you see Samsung, LG, and those companies. And people think, Japanese companies are gone. But that's not true. Their new business models are going inside. That means the TV set itself has Samsung name, but inside there are lots of devices and material made by Japanese companies are there. And the chances are lots of things are made by the production equipment made by Japanese companies. So the business model drastically changed. So unless being aware of this, you think, oh, Japan's really losing, but that's not the case.
Yeah, on the business side, it's okay.
Yes, and lots of companies are doing really well, and many companies are now hitting their historical high earnings.
And one of the other initiatives that the government has brought in is encouraging women into the workplace. Why has the government done this, and have you noticed any significant changes as a result?
Yeah, now it is important. It's been talked about for many years, but this is particularly important now because from the point of view of business, the Japanese population is not growing. It started declining. So that means we really need to utilize national resources more efficiently.
Yeah.
And what is the important national resource which are pretty much wasted? Women, because Japanese women are well educated. About 58% of Japanese women go to university, but not many women have important positions in businesses or anywhere. So that's pretty much a waste.
Yeah.
Because in Japan, the working practice was pretty much, probably it was suited in their high growth era, like 60s, 70s, 80s, when the economy was growing so fast and men had to work like mad all day, every day. And they needed their wife staying at home and looking after them to support them. That's their full-time job. But their world is changing. Japanese economy itself, macro, is not growing that fast. So rather than spending time in the office, we need to improve the productivity, efficiency. So that's the focus. The work-life balance for men should change, and it is changing. Lots of companies just introduced a new system. You can't stay in the office till very late. Used to be that was the norm. And to be able to do this, because people work much shorter time, therefore we need well-educated people to come in to add value to businesses, to society. We need women. And there are well-educated, good quality women in Japan. And so far, the government is trying to do lots of things. And also companies have been trying more diversity, gender equality is becoming seriously, these issues are seriously treated, but progressing very slowly, but at least they are going in the right direction.
Going back to your fund, you can invest in companies of any size, but you find some of your best ideas in smaller companies. Why do you think that is?
Smaller companies, the reason is there are so many smaller companies in Japan, and a total 4,000 companies are listed in Japan. And in terms of the number of stocks, 90% are smaller caps. So that's important. However, in Japan, there aren't that many small cap specialists. Therefore, the majority of those small caps are quite significantly under-researched. However, there are lots of interesting businesses happening now. Therefore, there are great opportunities, and we have the expertise to discover those smaller companies. Therefore, we are very keen on smaller companies because the chances are we are able to invest in really exciting growth businesses at low price.
And some of the themes within your fund include sort of the globalization of Japanese food, aging populations, automation, and increased use of electronics in cars. Can you explain why you've picked these themes and give us some company examples of a couple of those?
Right. These themes are all longer-term themes. It's not fashion trends. It's not just short-term trends. These are all long-term structural growth themes. Therefore, we are very keen because these themes are quite sustainable, we believe, if you like. Food. Until recently, Japanese food companies were regarded as typical domestic businesses. but Japanese population won't grow, so the market won't become bigger. So about several years ago, many of them, the strong ones, started looking at foreign markets, and some of them have been quite successful. We have a small investment in Kameda Seika. They make rice crackers, and rice crackers, I believe they're much, much healthier than potato crisps. There's no fat and less salty, so less calories and everything. So I believe big potential in rice crackers. I quite like this theme. Aging population. This is often regarded as a negative factor about Japan. However, this is also creating lots of new interesting businesses. And all the developed economies will experience this soon. So Japan is ahead of the trend. That means those companies, I think, they are interesting businesses, but for the longer term, they will have opportunities abroad as well. And one of the investments on this theme is a company called Tsukui. And this company's main business is daycare centers. The old people go there twice or three times a week to do some activities. And I actually visited one of those places, and it was so impressive. It was totally different from what I had expected, because I was imagining some, old folks are just sitting watching the TV, but it wasn't like this at all. Yeah. There was some handicraft club was happening with the old ladies, and one of them was teaching others, how to do things, and that was interesting. And there was a karaoke party happening in this end, and they all had a fitness program which was designed for each person, and they used the equipment. So their mobility, the health level improves when they start coming to this place. So they're happy. Their families are happy, and also the company itself is happy because they will keep their customers for a long time. Yeah. So win-win-win. So I think this is a great business. So, and another thing is that automation. This is going to be a long-term thing. Automation. Japanese, population is limited and it won't grow. And also, there's lots of companies that are doing really well. Therefore, labor shortage. Therefore, more automation is needed, desperately needed in many companies. This is treated as a more serious matter these days, because the president of one company told me some time ago, a few months ago, he said they used to consider replacing a person by a robot when it's cheaper. But now they changed the mindset. He said, we replace a person by robot if the robot can do the job, even if the initial cost is quite high. And people always talk about then lots of people will lose jobs. But I don't really think in that way. Those people who are replaced by robots, then that means these people are doing something and machinery was able to do. That means they will move to a job which only human beings can do. So as a whole, the business as a whole, it will create more value. So I think this is a very positive trend longer term. And the electronization of automobile, this is really Japan's strength. Yeah. And one of the examples which are not that obvious was Nidec. This company used to be known as the producer of micro motors, which were used in HDD. So, but this market started falling at some point. in HDD hard disk drive. And the PC market started falling, and investors became negative about the future of this company. However, they really kind of reinvented themselves. They became a general motor producer of any size of the motors, and they started doing M&As, and they are now the largest manufacturer of motors, large or small and minute. As a latecomer, they went into the car industry, and their strength is because they didn't used to have any business in the auto industry. That is really good because existing auto component companies are growing in this electronization of automobiles, but they have also existing business which are falling because of the electronization. Some parts are redundant.
Yeah.
So they are losing and gaining. But in this Nidec case, it's all winning. They are just exposed to the growing parts of the auto industry. So that's an interesting thing.
And that very neatly brings us back to the beginning of the Japanese companies doing business to business rather than business to consumers.
Exactly.
Well, Chisako, thank you very much. It's been really, really very interesting. And thank you very much for listening. I've been Ryan Lightfoot Brown. If you'd like to listen to more of our podcasts, please subscribe to FundCalibre.